Hey, you guys, welcome to Splinterlands TV. It is I, the Psy, and we are here with the second in our Path to Power video where I look at things from the perspective of a new player having started a new account from scratch using the Brave Tofu referral code. You guys can check out my first video that I made about the subject as well. But in this video, having played a few matches, you can see that I've gone in through ranked. I've got a few wins under my belt. I've been playing quite a few of these matches in modern format. 88 battles with 79 wins, a pretty decent win streak. And there's a few things that I kind of wanted to share with you guys from the perspective of a new player for all you other newbies out there who might find yourself lost or confused in the very complex game that is Splinterlands. So without further ado, let's get things started here. I've got about 10 tips that I want to lay on you today. I've also gone ahead and I've created a Hive post. There will be a link to that down in the description that you guys can also follow if you want to read about this and leave me a comment and maybe even upvote if you felt so generous. Now, that being said, one of the first things and my number one tip that I want to give you guys is to join a guild. Now, guild participation, not only does it go and earn you a bunch of extra rewards, which we'll talk about, it also goes ahead and it allows you to kind of build some rapport and some camaraderie with other players within the Lands game. So I know when I first started playing, I wasn't involved in a guild. I just wanted to try and solo everything. I was like, bah, why do I need a guild? But there's so many benefits to being a guild aside from the social aspect. There's also the store, where you'll get a merit bonus for participating in brawls. Within the store, it's the only way that you can actually spend those merits that you're receiving to buy your Gladius cases. So if you're not actually in a guild, you can't even buy the Gladius cases with the merits that you're earning. On top of that, within the guild, some of the other buildings that you have is you've got the arena. This is where you're going to be able to actually enter into the frays to participate in guild brawls. Whichever guild brawl that you enter, you can see here I'm in brawl number 9 right now. With these guild brawls that you enter, you'll earn SPS, you'll earn merits, and the guild itself will earn crowns, which are required for upgrading the buildings themselves. You'll also go ahead and you will earn from the lodge. You're going to earn a glint bonus for all of the wins that you actually make, and you could even get a shop discount on top of that. So on top of being in part of the guild here, I've said on top a lot already, and being able to meet new people and make friends, which is all great. There's also the benefits of being able to actually get the Gladius cases to earn a bonus on your glint for actually playing, and for you to actually be able to participate in brawls, which is, in my opinion, one of the most fun parts of Splinterlands, getting into the brawls. So that's what we're looking at right now from the perspective of the guilds. Now, another thing that I want to point out here is on probably the most important aspect of the game, even more important than guilds, is the game itself and the fact that you need to have summoners. I know when I started, I was trying to be a silver player, so I bought summoners that would only get me to silver. And now that we have no individual leagues, I found that the best option is for you to literally go and try and get maximum summoners, those splinters that you intend playing. I think that if you were to go and you were to focus on 3 splinters, they should be totally fine. You don't necessarily have to go and invest in every splinter that exists, but at least 3 splinters is going to give you a nice edge, and you hope that in every one of the rule sets that you end up encountering, that one of those 3 is going to be used. Now, there's nothing wrong with getting all the splinters, but you'd want to have at least 3. Now, the reason why I say that summoners are the most important part of that, though, is because if you don't have a high-level summoner, you can't play high-level monsters. And those high-level monsters are obviously going to have the best abilities. And when you're going and you're taking a look at the rentals that it costs to actually get some of these guys, we're not talking about a lot as the difference between an 8-star and a 1-star summoner. Like 0.1 to 4.6 is literally still going to be, I don't even know if that's a penny. It's literally going to be pennies or less than pennies a day for you to rent some of these summoners. And if you want to go and you want to achieve that high level play, then you're actually going to need a high level summoner to be able to field the monsters, which in turn will let you earn more rewards, earn more glint, and continue to advance up the leaderboard. So make sure that you're looking at summoners and that you're renting the highest one for the cards that you intend to rent. There's nothing worse than if you have a 4-star summoner rented and then you rent, say, an 8-star rare monster, because that monster will only be able to be played as a 4-star monster instead of an 8-star, because it's going to get level capped by the summoner that. So for the right now, we're very lucky that Chaos Legion is very low cost. It's allowing us to go and get these high level summoners, these 8-star summoners, for a very, very low price, which is going to allow you to play the game at the highest levels. You might not have everything, but being able to have access to summoners is the most important part of the game. Everything falls apart if you don't have a summoner that's going to be able to sustain your team, and you'll never reach the highest ranks of the game and earn the most rewards if you're not able to play the best monsters, which again is all dependent on your summoner. Now, one of the other things I want to talk about, and it kind of relates to these summoners, is being stingy and not wanting to use all of your credits at once or all of your DC at once. That's a great thing. I'm a stingy person myself, but you don't want to be so stingy that's going to end up costing you wins. And I'll give you an example of something that happened to me, and I talk about this in the blog post as well. So I went ahead and I thought to myself, you know what? I'm just going to try and spend as little as possible on my rentals. I'm going to try and like milk these credits that I have as long as possible. And I did something a little bit silly. I had max level cards, max level summoners, I should say. But instead of actually renting cards that would be useful to me, like for instance, this Alchemist the Bear, when he gets Force Field at level 7, or even better, when he's at level 10, he has that additional attack, he gets Enrage and everything like that. I should probably be renting a level 10 myself. What have I got? Ooh, I got this level 4, which is what we're going to kind of talk about here. Instead of going ahead and having rented a level 7 where I get Force Field, I cheaped out. I got the level 4. That actually ended up causing a loss for me because I wasn't using Force Field. I went ahead and when you look at the rentals here, the difference between a level 4 that I rented, find it, there we go. The cheapest level 4 that I rented was 0.2. And if I were to have gone ahead and I rented a 10-star for 5.35, which is substantially more, I guess I could have gotten away with what, a 7-star to get Force Field? So that's 0.8. So for the difference of 0.7 DEC a day, I could have had the bear that had Force Field. But I didn't. I was too cheap to pay the extra 0.7 DEC per day, and that resulted in a loss because I was playing a match and I ended up facing off against a, where is that guy? He's so strong. The double striker that has 5 attack on him. He's Chaos Legion. He's a reward, water level, and he's a common. Where is that guy? All right, maybe it's reward part 2. Rewards 2. Yeah, the Coastal Sentry. So I ended up facing off against someone who had a 9 or 10-star Coastal Sentry. I can't remember exactly, but it had 5 attack and double strike. If I would have gone ahead and spent that extra 0.7 to get myself a bear that had Force Field, I would have easily have won that match instead of losing it. This 5 damage on my bear would have been reduced to 1 because of Force Field, would not have been able to break my bear. I would have won handily and actually continued on with the win streak that I had and actually won maybe, I think at that point in time, it could have been like 1.5 SPS or something. The earnings from that one win would have more than covered the amount it would have cost me to rent that bear at the higher level. So I was too stingy for my own good. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with being cheap and managing your assets and managing that the credits that you have and the DEC that you spend. But if you're not actually at least getting cards up to the potential when they become good, you're kind of hamstringing yourself. One more example I'm going to use, because I always love to use this particular guy as an example, is going to be in Earth. I think he's a rare. He's definitely not a, he's part of core. Ooh, nope, he's actually a common. There he is, the Goblin Psychic. You could go ahead and you could rent yourself a 6-star Goblin Psychic. But would he have silence? He would not. And arguably, having the ability of silence is one of the best parts of Goblin Psychic. So you have to make sure that when you are doing your rentals, yes, cheap is good, but don't go so cheap that you end up missing out on an amazing ability because you wanted to save a little DEC, because winning will earn that back for sure. Well, I can't say for sure, not financial advice, but winning is important. You'll keep your win streak, and a victory is going to net you more than a loss. So be stingy, but not too stingy. Something else that I've noticed here, and when we go to my rentals right now, let's see if I can find it. Where is it? No, that's the wrong one. Peak Monsters, here we go. I'm in the silence. My cards that are being delegated to me. Yes. Okay. When I'm looking at the not cards that are being delegated to me by Tofu, you can see that I am renting a ton. And here's another mistake I made when I rented a 4-star Uraeus instead of a 6-star, and I had to correct that, which actually cost me a little bit more. Like, look, I was so stingy. I wanted to save 0.188 DEC a day to get one less attack and everything. What a mistake. But getting back to it, neutrals can create the core of any deck. If you want to be able to have some success in playing, it's a good idea to rent yourself a bunch of neutrals. They can kind of be that stopgap when you might not have every card that you need, but they can act as like a buffer to get you through lots of matches. In a magic only match, hey, there you go. You got the Magi of Chaos who can back you up regardless of the splinters that are available. If you've gone ahead and you've got something that's melee only, well, here you go. Legionnaire Alvar with his Demoralize pairs awfully well with the Disintegrator, who also has Demoralize. These are all great cards for you to have in your arsenal. And unless it's one of those no neutral matches, you'll be able to use them all the time. Now, there are some matches when you can't use neutral, but there's also matches when you can only use neutral. So having access to these cards is going to be a huge benefit to you, especially things like Venari Marksrat, very cheap for you to rent, 0.1 DEC a day, and Venator Kinjo, giving you easy access to Reflection Shield. Venka the Wild is just an incredible card for the cost to rent it versus the benefits it gives your team. Zenith Monk, I mean, I think we all know the power of the Zenith Monk. He can be played in Little League. He's a tank all around, a good little neutral guy that we can use almost any time, and he's got that regenerate, so we can even throw him in the back in like a poison match and just have him heal himself consistently. And who can forget our buddy, the #1 card in the game, Dr. Blight, that even at 2-star gives you Afflict and Poison. What a fantastic card. So neutral cards can pull a lot of weight for you in almost any matchup where it's a not neutral-less rule set, and it can really shore up and prevent you from having to rent a lot more cards than you need, because you can rely on your neutrals. Ooh, and don't forget to get the haste on your supply runner. So important. I'm probably going to do another video on the best cards for you to rent in every Splinter as a new player. That's going to be another thing to talk about a little bit. One of the other things that you might notice here is that I am doing a lot of rentals. If we were to go and we were to take it off, we'll go by owner here. We'll see that Lord Tofu is lending me a ton of cards, but at the same time, I am renting a lot of cards right now. Now, part of the reason if you want to invest heavily in Splinter, you don't have to just buy outright. You can try it before you buy it, and that way you're going to make sure that you end up with cards that you actually like and enjoy, and you've seen their value and they've seen how you treat you. It's one thing to go ahead and try and buy every card that there is in Splinterlands, but I mean, that's going to become fairly costly. You might end up noticing that, hey, you know what, this Radiated Brute that you bought just isn't putting in a lot of work for you. Or that the Sunkai Harvester, as good as you thought it would be when he goes ahead and he levels up and he has a press, that it's really not pulling its weight. You might also notice that you accidentally end up falling into a trap of having bought, say, a 10-star Deep Lurker, but your summoners can't actually support it. So you need to go and decide with the summoners especially what level the cards are that you're going to buy. So try it before you buy it. Make sure that you're aware of the cards that you're going to be purchasing. Form a plan on what splinters that you're going to, and don't just buy everything like I did when I first started playing, then end up having to resell a bunch of cards in it. Now, this is especially useful for very, very valuable and expensive cards, such as, say, for instance, Tofu. Tofu's a great card. It's proven itself over and over and over again. but to buy the card outright at a max level would be $630. Whereas you can rent that same max card for, oops, the last one I was looking at is already rented out for 550 D a day. So that's probably just like 40 cents a day versus going ahead and buying it for $630. Now, with lots of risk comes lots of reward. So this tofu, there's nothing saying that when it rotates, or I should say when Chaos Legion rotates out of Modern and we're left with Rebellion and Conclave Arcana, there's nothing saying that tofu's still going to be number one. And its price is going to go up even further. By owning the card, you take all of the risk and you get all the rewards. But by renting the card, you don't take any of the risk aside from having to basically try and regain the cost of the rental. Battle reward. So try it before you buy it. Make sure you know if you like the card or not, and then invest appropriately based on the splinters and the level of the summoners that you're playing. Another good thing that you might want to take a look at is when you're doing your renting, do all your rentals at the same time. I made some mistakes here my very first time that I was renting, and you can see, I hope it shows it here. It might not show. Here we go. So it shows how long I have left with some of these rentals. And you can see that I've got an hour and 41 minutes with the Jin Muriat. I've only got 36 minutes with this Coastal Sentry. But over here with this Harkle, I've got 1 day and 2 hours. And over here, 2 hours. I was all over the place with the rentals that I was making. If I would have gone ahead, I would have made a list, checked it twice. I would have found out what cards are naughty and nice. And I would have rented them all at the same time. I could have better managed not only the rentals themselves, but my play time that I play and invest my energy in. By being consistent with your rentals and having everything rented at the same time, you can literally make your rentals, burn down all your energy to basically zero, wait for say 40 hours while everything builds back up again, and then burn that energy down again using those same rentals. I'm in a position right now where I burned through a bunch of energy. Some of my cards are going to be expiring, some of them aren't going to be expiring. My rentals are all over the place. It would have been much easier for me to go over here using peak monsters and going to the rental function and renting a bunch of cards at once, having them all expire at the same time so that I would have been able to be more consistent with my playing and keep everything better organized. So that's something that I'm going to try and do next time, is do all my rentals at the same time, play all my matches, then go ahead and burn that energy, wait for it to replenish, play again, my rentals will run out, then I'll re-rent. That's going to make it very efficient use of both my time and my energy and my resources, because you don't want to have things like you saw there, in my case, which I have for a day, then other things that are expiring and everything is just a jumbled mess that I'm going to have to now find a way to sort out. Something else that you might notice here within my game is that right now when I'm playing, my SPS boost is only at 6.19. I was not managing my SPS properly, and in doing so, when I played, I was earning far less SPS in Glint than what I should have been. 40% less basically, because I should be at 10x if I'm doing it right. The minimum that I'd suggest you aim for is 8x. So when we're looking here, you can see that my rewards were hampered by the lack of SPS that I had staked. So when we take a look at the SPS staking here, we'll see that for me as a gold 1 player, which is what I'm at right now, I'm in gear gold 1, I should have staked right now to earn at least 8x, 30,000, and to get 10x, I should have about 60,000. So I am fairly short right now with the amount that I'm going to need to rent, as I currently only have the tofu bonus of 20,000 plus the 100 that's delegated to me from the DAO to be played. So for me to get to that 60,000, I'm actually short 40,000. But for me to go ahead and just get to the 8x multiplier in gold 1, I'm short about 10,000 right now. So in all reality, I'm going to need to get some DEC. So hopefully the high post that I make is going to generate some of that for me. So in order for me to go ahead and get that SPS that I'm missing, I'm going to have to rent it at this point in time. So I'm going to click on Get SPS, and I can purchase it if I'd like to, or I can go over here and I can, where is the rental? I always have problems finding the rentals for SPS, the reward delegations. Nope, let's go back. Stake, transfer, convert. You want to get it, manage it, right? Manage it. There we go. So you want to manage it. You can see under incoming, you can see the market where you'd be able to request SPS. And the market right now is, things seem to be going for around 0.002. You can sometimes get it for 0.001, but typically I find that it'll fill pretty quickly at 0.002. So if you were to go ahead and you were to make a request on that, say I'm looking for that 10,000, and the price that I was offering was 0.002, you can see that it would cost me 140 DEC per day, which is basically 10 cents a day to rent that 10,000 SPS that I'm missing. Oh, sorry, that's for a week, I believe. So yeah, rental days 7, 140 DEC, which is 10 cents to get the last 10,000 SPS that I missed at 0.002 for the week. You can also go ahead, and if you wanted to, you could try and rent it through XBot. So XBot has the ability to go to their SPS rent market, and you could try and rent things a little bit cheaper as well. You can see right now that the APR through Digital Fortress, what he's renting out, and he's got 169,000 SPS for rent, is 6%, which works out to about 0.0015 or 16 or something like that. So in order to rent through XBot, you'd be able to go ahead, you would choose the SPS amount. I could do 10,000 again. Number of weeks, let's just say I only want it for 1 week, which is the same amount. And you can see that it would only cost me 107 DE versus the 140 DE that it would cost me through the Splinterlands interface. So you might want to go ahead, you might want to take a look at XBot as well when you're looking at where to buy your, or rent your SPS, I should say. But bear in mind, when you're under that at least 8x boost, and if you don't have your 10x boost, it is going to severely hamper the winnings that you're receiving. And it's obviously would have been better for me to be playing at 8x or 10x with those wins and getting that extra 40%, which would have already paid off the extra SPS fees that I'm now going to have to go and rent. And I missed that opportunity to fully maximize those wins. So the next thing that I want to mention to you guys is going to be your actual rewards. Now you can see that I've got 15,000 glint that I've saved up at this point in time, and I don't necessarily think that that's a good thing. I think that when you're a new player, it's probably best for you to be spending that glint because there's an opportunity cost in holding on to it, and that opportunity cost is having less cards available to you to do the battles. And the sooner that you go ahead and you get the cards, obviously, the more time that you're going to have to play with them. So the opportunity cost of me just being like, hey, cool, look, I've got 15,000 glint, is that I'm going to be able to use these cards for less a period of time, which could result in me losing. The same thing also applies to guilds and not spending your Gladius cases, that your merits that you have on Gladius cases. I could buy right now 2 Gladius cases, and in one of those, or in both of them, there could be a Quora. And having cards like Quora available to you is a huge game changer and would definitely impact the way that I'm playing the game. So sure, it's all fine and dandy to go ahead and have these 4,000 merits, which translates to 2 Gladius cases, or it's great for me to have 15,000 SPS, which could be 2 epic draws in the search for getting an Olivia of the Brook, which would obviously be amazing and fantastic for me, or one of the halflings, which is a great 1-drop neutral. So I should probably be spending this. I'm going to do another video on that where I go and I spend into this account. I'm not going to do it here with you right now, but by not having spent this, it probably could have cost me a match or two, depending on what I got out of the Gladius cases, or what I got out of these common draws. Or maybe even rare draws. Maybe it's even worth it for me to do the rare draws right now, trying to get a Commander Slade, something that would be extremely useful to me to have. So don't just sit on the glint. It exists to be spent. Same with those merits. Develop a strategy on what are you going to do. Are you going to go for 2 epic draws? Are you going to go and try and get yourself like, how many rare draws could I get? It'd be beneficial for me to do like 15 rare draws or 20 rare draws at this time and aim for just filling out my deck and giving myself some more card diversity. Maybe I want to do the minor loot chests. which I'd be able to get maybe 100 of these or something like that. Let's see. Almost 100. I know I could get at least 50 of these minor loot chests, so I could get 75 of them right now, it looks like. I could get 75 minor loot chests right now and possibly even get a legendary out of that. I think that's what I might end up doing, to be honest with you, when time comes. But either way, having this glint just sitting there isn't doing me any benefits. It's not winning me any games. It's a nice to have, but it's not actually doing for me. And when you're this low level, I would probably be using my alchemy potions, my legendary potions draws as well, because getting one gold foil automatically brings its level up. And obviously getting a legendary could completely change the dynamic of your deck at this time as a player. So one of the other things that that is also going to be important to you as a new player, a way to build your account without necessarily needing to spend a bunch of credits or to worry about so much DEC, is to participate in the greater Hive ecosystem. So you can see that one of the things that I'm doing when I link down to my Hive blogs and everything is I'm going ahead and I'm creating content on Hive. And that content gets upvoted by people who are basically curating, and it's earning Hive with every time someone votes on it. So you can actually go ahead, you can create content. That content's going to get you upvotes and people are going to give you Hive for it. You could go and you could comment on other people's Hive posts, which in turn would give you curation rewards. And you could go ahead and you could compete in some of these Splinterlands some of the Splinterlands contests that are ongoing right now as well. There's social media challenges, for instance, which could also earn you Hive. So there's lots of ways that you'd be able to go ahead and you'd be able to participate within the greater Hive ecosystem. And I certainly do suggest that you go ahead and you read content like what Brave Tofu put out, talking about earnings in Splinterlands and using Hive, and especially the one right here that was just recently created by Seattle A, on why Splinterlands players should be more involved in Hive blockchain. These are great resources for you to go ahead and read up on, and you can certainly go ahead and you can supplement your Splinterlands by participating in the Hive ecosystem. All of those methods I've described, I go into that in detail and provide links in my own Hive post. So go ahead and check that out. I'm going to create a link to that in this YouTube video. Lastly but not leastly, is that how you'd even say it? One of the important things I want to mention to you guys is not to give up. This game is very, very complex, and it's easy for you to just go ahead and say, you know what, I have no idea what's going on right now. I give up. This game is too complicated for me, and I don't know what I'm doing with these assets. I've spent more than I should, or I haven't spent enough, or I feel like I'm not actually getting it. Don't worry, you guys. We all started somewhere, and I want to tell you guys, don't give up. You can keep watching videos like the ones that I'm doing here with my Path to Power series. You can go on Hive. You can read up about things like the Splinterlands through Tofu, why people should become involved in Hive. You can read other content creators on X, for instance, who are talking about Splinterlands. You can talk to your guild mates about some strategies and tips and tricks. All these things are available to you as resources. And I know the game is complicated between the SPS, between lands, between liquidity pools, between even just DEC and buying and selling and cryptocurrency in itself and Hive and curation and all of these things. If you've never come from any one of these backgrounds that involve cryptocurrency, it can all be super confusing. I get it. We've all been there. It takes some time to get used to things, but once you do, this game can be very rewarding, both in the fun that you get from playing and in actually the things that most games don't offer to you, like those liquidity pools we talked about, like strategizing and using your resources. In a lot of ways, this is a game about resources and how best to use them and how best to devote your time, your attention, and your credits and the other things that you have that you bring to the game. So don't give up, hang in there, ask questions. You can feel free to drop me a comment in this very video if you'd like, or drop me a comment on that Peak D post that I just set up, and we can go ahead, we can talk Splinterlands all day long. But there's lots of resources out there for you. You just gotta Got to learn the game like anything else, and the more you know, the more you'll succeed. And hopefully, you won't fall into some of the pitfalls that players like me did when I first started playing by watching these videos and interacting with some of the other content creators that exist. So there we go, my friends. I hope that you guys have enjoyed this. It's I the Psy, and you guys can like, share, subscribe, and hopefully it's gotten you a little bit more knowledge about Splinterlands the game, a few of these traps and pitfalls you could fall into. Hopefully you've enjoyed this content on my next Path to Power video that I have here for you. If you got any suggestions on what you'd like me to cover next, go ahead and drop that comment for me. I try and reply to all the comments. I'm a little busy these days trying to get my basement done, but I try and reply to the comments, and I'm always looking for inspiration. I want to know what you guys think. So let me know in the comments. Drop me that like. Check out my Hive post. Give it an upvote if you'd be so kind. You guys around Praetoria. Take care, my friends. Peace!